Nigel started off, so I'm going to do welcome to him in my language. I'll use my mother's language. Nail you inani pola Chee, Nyura and Bantwa, Nyura, nail you Pakanani, and nail you Nukala. So here at Gulkula. So basically what I say, my name's Chee, I'm from Alice Springs, and I'm really, really happy and proud to be here on this country. And I'd like to pay my respect to the Gumach and the clans that make up this wonderful moiety system that we have here, and it's just unbelievable. Especially Yulungo, Rom is just something that's really, really powerful. So what I'm going to do is just run off some numbers and figures, because I've got to get through that, then I'll just digress and improvise. I'm a musician too, so I like improvisation. So look, the NT government, I'll talk about the Department of Tourism and Hospitality. I'm chairman of Tourism NT, and soon Major Events Company will be taken in by Tourism NT, and I'll be chair of both Major Events and Tourism NT. So I'm looking forward to that, and by the way, the first Aboriginal person ever to be chairperson of Tourism NT in the Northern Territory. And it's really great that we've got Aboriginal leaders all across the spectrum. So time is right now for us to make a change and to make some difference in what we do. So the Northern Territory Government, we're committed to rebuilding the economy and restoring our lifestyle. And tourism is a critical sector to the Northern Territory's economy. And we know that. Mind you, we are a small industry, and maybe we don't get as much sort of acknowledgement and respect as we should do, because we morph into a lot of different things. I'll go into that later on. Aboriginal Territorians are the front and centre of Territory's economic and its development as landowners, innovators and developers, investors and partners. People come from all over the world to experience Aboriginal culture, and I think we all know that. And especially here in the Northern Territory, rightfully or wrongfully, but our comparative advantage and our point of difference is that anybody coming from international or even around the rest of Australia, if they want to experience Aboriginal culture, they say the Northern Territory is the place to go. Now, we know culture's everywhere in Australia. Rich, very rich culture. But right now, that's in front and centre of people's minds. So they think about Aboriginal culture, they think about the Northern Territory. Well, why not? We've got the two major icons as bookends. We've got Uluru Kata and we've got Kakadu. You know, internationally listed heritage precincts, which are a great repository for our culture and our stories and where we live. So, 4 out of 5 international travellers seek to experience Aboriginal experiences. Right now, what we do is the challenge is to actually match the supply, match the demand. So, you know, it's out there, and we've got to really work hard at getting more supply and getting good quality product. I'm a big believer that we should have emphasis on yield, not volume. We are not a volume market. Our country doesn't allow us to be a volume market. We really don't want it to be a volume market. We want to be a yield market. And festivals like Garma prove that. You know, you've got to pay a price to come to Garma. But the value of you coming to Garma, you're quite prepared to pay that price. And for us as Aboriginal people, is what price do we are prepared to pay while we're dealing in our culture? As soon as there's a transaction go on with actually a commercialisation of your culture, that's where it lies. So what value do we put on it? And I think that one thing good coming to Garma is that, you know, you get all these elements and you get that richness and they get that understanding, and it's a renewal of your own understanding. I come here and I think, oh, I know a fair bit about Aboriginal culture. Well, then I realise I know hardly anything. But it's so fantastic to sort of get that different point of view, and then you can take that back, and when you're in positions of you can create change because you're in a position to do so, or you can influence it, I think that's really important to get the message from the ground. And that's what we get here at Garma. We get messages from the ground, which I really like. And it's really great to hear Jodie's presentation. CDP, right? Okay, there's a new CDP that's coming out soon, and it's called RJET, the Regional Jobs and Economic Development Program, which Yeah, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. And I can tell you right now, I ran a business back in early or late 1990s. Was the Aboriginal Art and Culture Centre in Alice Springs. We won numerous Brolga Awards, Australia Tourism Awards, even won a World Indigenous Tourism Award for sustainable and economically sound tourism. But you know what? At the core of that was CDP. And CDP allowed us to have the ability to employ a lot of Aboriginal people. We trained 60 Aboriginal people from 70-year-olds through to 19-year-olds. And they've gone on now and are working quite in diverse industries, whether it's the government or they work in private enterprise. And I think that was the catalyst for that. But CDP was such a great vehicle for us to actually do that. So to see this program come back, Jodie, I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic. And how do we use that? And I think it's got a few changes in there too. Now you can use it for operational. Back in the days we couldn't. So that's great. But NIA, we work really closely with NIA, and they've been so fantastic with support of tourism in the Northern Territory. We've had funding to, as part of our strategic Indigenous tourism projects, which include development of a tourism framework. So what we're trying to do now is provide information to our tour operators in terms of what is required to run a business. And it's not easy. It's a very demanding and hard industry, tourism, you know, because people don't want an excuse. They don't want anything, you know, oh, we've got sorry business, we can't put a guide on. They don't want to know about that. They paid their money, they want the experience. So it's just about how do we work through that. So that's been great to get that support from NIA in terms of how do we roll that out and how do we communicate that and we do that through forums that we run. We do that through having our industry development officers going out and talk to people on the ground. We also recently won an award for that, actually, for that particular strategy of developing a tourism work plan. So that shows how good it is. You know, it's good to have somebody else say it's good, not ourselves. So that's fantastic. And right now we're just focusing on practical resources that support and provide informed decisions that people can make and how they can grow their business to be sustainable businesses. It's really difficult. Most of our operators are sole traders because that's all they can do. You know, Aboriginal people, we're asset rich and we're cash poor. And on a balance sheet, that asset cannot be realised because our land is tied up. Okay, so we've always got one hand tied behind our back. But as long as we've got 2 feet, I suppose we can keep running in that right direction. Let me keep going here. Okay, so the Northern Territory Government, through the department, we actually provide, you know, over $1 million now worth of support funding. It's not a big bucket, it's not big, but we increased that from 250 to 1 million back about 2 or 3 years ago. And that was done through a committee called the Aboriginal Tourism Committee that really pushed for that. And that was made up of members of tourism in the Territory and Aboriginal tourism operators. So that was fantastic. And a lot of that funding is broken up. We have Aboriginal Tourism Development Support Grant programs, which one had about 200,000. And they're just for professional services, planning activities. We have a tourism grant program around 9, which is up to $500,000, and that's to enhance visitor experiences. So we're looking at how do we grow our business, how do we make it more sustainable, you know, and how do we get our operators to actually fully understand the importance of delivering a good quality product. Because at the end of the day, it's about the product. Come to Gama, you're getting a product. And that's the level, and that's the standard we've got to set. And that's why I really like coming to a place like Arnhem, because it really sets a standard. We can't settle for anything less than that. It's got to be there or up. Unlocking Aboriginal Tourism Fund. And that's a remote strategy plus to navigate and access potential funding and investment and opportunities. By the way, Nigel and his program is fantastic also. They've been putting money out to Aboriginal tour operators and really providing, invaluable support in terms of infrastructure. Can they use that money for operational? No. Where are they? Here we are. Yep.
Oh,
yeah.
Particular operations, so yeah.
Yes.
You can use it for some operational. Like
Correct. Yeah. No, it's been fantastic. Yeah. Yeah. No, I've bumped into a few operators that have said that they've been really, really happy with the support from, Sorry? All right, no worries. Okay, yeah, so I'll keep on the move here. But yeah, I did speak about the future and about how, major events now coming into tourism. So we're going to have the marrying of major events company coming into tourism. Now this has been done in Victoria, it's been done in New South Wales, so it's not new. But, for me, and I don't know what I said to you guys before, is that if Aboriginal tourism was to walk down the street, what would it look like? Festivals, right? Are they tourism or are they festivals? They've still got visitors. It's about the visitor economy. And I think to myself, we've got such a broad spectrum of providing experiences that we shouldn't just pigeonhole ourselves into one form of what people might expect as being tourism. I think it's a real, and that's where the diversity comes in, and that's where our ability to come in is absolutely fantastic. And the whole thing around Yolngu Rom, about that whole system of how we treat each other, how we respect each other, and how about truth, honesty and integrity is what we can own, and that's our point of difference. So thank you.